A group of old friends returned to their hometown to complete a drinking challenge they started years ago. But they soon noticed something strange. The people in the town weren't who they appeared to be. As they uncovered the mystery, they realized the entire town had been replaced by robot-like creatures. Can they figure out the mystery behind it? At the start of this movie, we saw a man named Gary. He was talking to some people about his teenage years. And through this, we learned that Gary lived in Newton Haven back then. During that time, Andy, Oliver, Peter, and Steven were his friends. One day, they all decided to do a strange challenge they called the Golden Mile. In this challenge, they would visit every pub in the city and drink beer at each one. There were 12 pubs in total, and the last one was called the World's End. They would only finish the task after reaching the last pub. However, back then, they couldn't make it to the last 3 pubs, leaving the task unfinished. Gary was still very focused on completing it. We then found out that Gary was telling all this to his psychologist during a therapy session, meaning he was receiving treatment. Even though he was 40 years old, he still felt like a teenager. The next day, he decided to finally finish his Golden Mile. He went to convince his old friends, one by one. In the end, he managed to persuade all of them, except for Andy. When he went to Andy, Andy refused to go because he had stopped drinking after an accident. So, to make Andy join him, Gary lied, saying that his mother had died, which wasn't true at all. Surprisingly, this worked, and Andy agreed to come. In fact, Andy had an argument with his mother and hadn't seen or spoken to her since. The next day, all the friends were ready to go to their hometown. Andy brought his old car, and on the way, they stopped for a while. During the break, Gary played video games with excitement. Seeing this, everyone commented that Gary hadn't changed at all. His behavior was still like a teenager's. When they arrived in their hometown, they stopped at a hotel to rest. Then Gary told them they would start their Golden Mile from there. They all reached a pub where no one recognized them. They noticed that many things had changed, but they didn't pay much attention to it. Gary ordered 5 glasses of beer for everyone, but Andy refused to drink and had a glass of water instead. Then they went to another pub, where Oliver found out that his sister Sam was also in the city, so he invited her to join them. During this time, both Gary and Steven got excited when they heard Sam's name because they both had liked her since their school days. They often fought over her back then, and even now, they argued about the same thing. She then went to the washroom and Gary followed her, thinking she had signaled him to come along. However, Sam had no such intention and didn't call him. When she saw Gary, she slapped him hard and left angrily. After that, they all went to the 3rd pub, but Gary wasn't allowed to enter because of his past behavior. He saw some beer outside the pub and drank it, feeling he had completed his task. Then they reached the 4th pub, where they remembered the good old days, like celebrating New Year's together. A boy named Shane joined them, sitting near Peter. Peter pointed out that Shane used to bully him but had forgotten about it now. While Peter was telling this, Gary got up to get shots for everyone. This upset the group, especially Andy, who began shouting at Gary. Gary got angry and stormed off to the washroom. Gary got into a fight with a boy in the washroom. In the heat of the fight, Gary hit the boy so hard that his head got separated from his body, and blue liquid started coming out of his head. Before anyone could figure out what was happening, Andy started yelling at Gary for lying about his mother. During this, the boy who had lost his head suddenly got up, but his head remained on the floor. It turned out that the people in the town had become robot-like creatures. As the boy got up, more of these strange people appeared, and a fight quickly broke out between them and Gary's group. They somehow managed to overpower the kids and discovered that the people in the town had been replaced by robot-like beings. After that, they ran into a policeman they had met earlier. He asked them if they had completed their Golden Mile, and Gary said no. Gary then told his friends that they should finish the Golden Mile so the people in the town wouldn't become suspicious of them. If these people started doubting them, the robot-like beings could try to harm them. Everyone agreed with Gary's idea, and they headed to the next pub, where they noticed everyone staring at them in a strange way. During this, they met a man named Basil, who told them that these blanks weren't robots but aliens. These aliens had come to the town to replace humans and make them more evolved so they could progress like other beings in the galaxy. Basil hadn't been replaced yet. After hearing this, they continued to the next pub, where Sam had also arrived with 2 of her friends. Gary took Sam to the washroom and tried to explain that the person she came with and the people in the town were all aliens. Sam thought he was talking nonsense and slapped him again before leaving. However, when she stepped outside, both of her friends revealed their true alien forms and attacked Gary. He saw this and fought both of them, managing to kill them. This made Sam finally believe Gary. After that, everyone went to the next pub where they saw people dancing. Gary, Andy, and Peter joined in and started dancing as well. Meanwhile, Steven met a man who told him that the aliens wanted to improve humans, and a powerful alien entity was behind all of this, replacing people by using their DNA. After hearing this, Steven told the group and suggested they should leave the city immediately. But then Oliver insisted they finish the Golden Mile, which made Gary suspicious of him. Still, they all decided to go to the next pub, trusting Oliver for the time being. There, they met their old school principal. He tried to explain to everyone that the aliens wanted to help humans by making them more advanced, and that they should support the aliens. Oliver kept agreeing with him, which made Andy suspicious. Without thinking, Andy broke Oliver's head, revealing that Oliver was also one of the blanks. Andy became furious and started attacking all the blanks around them. During this, the principal again tried to calm Andy down, but he didn't listen, and soon all the aliens began attacking them. They somehow managed to escape, but after what happened with Oliver, they started suspecting each other of being blanks. To confirm who was human, they began checking each other's bodies for injury marks. One way to identify a blank was that they had no injuries or scars on their body. During this, Gary refused to show his injury mark, but proved he wasn't an alien by hitting his head against the wall. After that, Andy told everyone to forget about the Golden Mile and leave town. But the aliens realized they were there and started chasing them. Peter got caught by the aliens, and despite their efforts, they couldn't save him, and he too became a blank. Gary's obsession with finishing the Golden Mile grew stronger, and he ran straight toward the 11th pub. Andy and Steven ran after him, with an alien attacking along the way, but Andy bravely killed it. Gary continued running toward the final pub, the World's End. Andy understood that Gary was doing all this because of his mental struggles and tried to stop him, leading to a fight between them. As they reached the 11th pub, Gary was determined to complete the final task, but suddenly, they were pulled underground, where they heard the voice of an alien entity known as the Network. The Network revealed that it was behind everything and wanted to help humans evolve into a more advanced species. It offered Gary the chance to become a blank, showing him his teenage self. Hearing this, the Network decided to leave Earth. Gary had tricked it with his words. As the Network left, there was a massive explosion, but Sam arrived just in time to save Gary, Andy, and Steven. With the Network gone, all the blanks were freed from its control. A huge electromagnetic wave followed, damaging all electronic devices on Earth. The story then fast-forwarded a few years, where Andy was telling this tale to children. He explained how, after the Network left, the world returned to a dark age without electronics, but humans still survived. The blanks were left behind, no longer under the Network's control. Though humans didn't like them, the blanks were trying to live a new life. We saw the blank versions of Oliver and Peter living their personal lives. Steven and Sam had also gotten married. No one knew where Gary was. In the last scene, Gary appeared at a bar with the younger versions of his friends. He ordered a glass of water, but the bartender refused to serve him because humans disliked blanks. This made Gary angry, and a fight broke out between blanks and humans. The ending scene shows that Gary is fighting for the rights of the blanks.